Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Very well,
How's
thank
your
you.
week been, Reel?
Yeah.
No roller skates? Ooh.
I know that. I can't.
No roller skating.
We were promised roller skates.
Oh, too bad.
I think Adriana does that. Adriana roller skates, doesn't she? Yeah.
Wow.
That'd be awesome.
She's like 100 times better than
Do you guys know what you want?
I do.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah?
sure.
I've been hanging out for some chili fries, and I'll get a chocolate shake.
Chili fries. What about the American?
I will go your famous hubcap,
Okay.
and I'll have a strawberry thick shake. And remember, I'm not paying for it if the straw doesn't stand up by itself.
Is this a common problem you have with Seek?
Nah.
Reoccurring.
Very sweet.
You're a darling.
And
I'll just get the usual
usual
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger combo with Dr. Pepper. Your
That's
chili
me.
fries, would you like mild or hot?
Mild, please.
Perfect, no problem. I'll be back.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks,
Thanks.
Rena. So, Margaret Pomeranz is creating or beginning a new festival at Cinema Nova.
Yep.
Is there something you could tell us about it? I mean,
Well, people might remember we did the event recently with David Stratton. We had the David Stratton Great
the
British Retro Film Festival, of course,
Yeah.
that was hugely successful. We ran that actually during the middle of MIF, so it was actually up against a lot of competitive programming that was going on in the city, but it was still very successful. And so we thought, well, you know, there's a real opportunity here. The great thing about digital cinema, which is obviously what we all started rolling out about 5 years ago, we replaced.
pristine,
Absolutely.
pristine quality.
Really good stuff.
We had an issue there for a while where a lot of the older films, you weren't sort of seeing them being made available as digital cinema projections. So the only way you could still run it was on 35, but a lot
the
of
Astor, they were showing
well,
the
exactly,
originals there,
yeah.
and you could
But
see
even
all
the Astor now
imperfections.
is transitioned predominantly
They have,
to
yeah.
DCP.
It helped a lot, though, bringing
It
that
has, well, and you
It
know.
sounds better as well.
Absolutely.
Really.
I mean, I love old cinema. I mean, anybody who really loves cinema loves older classic cinema, and there's a lot of classics in here.
This is an amazing breakdown of films. The selection is incredible.
Well, there's a lot of stuff people would have seen before, but a lot of
Yeah.
stuff people would have heard about, but not having seen.
And it's good, as Margaret said on the cover there, it's good seeing them up on the big
Wanna
screen
take a
like
look
it
at that?
alone. Yeah, fantastic, thanks. I mean, there's just so many good things here. It's incredible.
I love Margaret Pomeranz. I mean, I used to watch her and David's show for years and years and years. They used to be on SBS doing the movie show, and then it became At the Movies.
Yeah.
Apparently now she's got her own Foxtel show.
Which I've not seen, but yeah, she's been doing that with I think Graham Blundell, and I think I read this week that David Stratton's going to have a new series on ABC next year, where he's going to be doing not sort of a
An ongoing series.
thing.
like
Yeah, it's a
miniseries.
mini-series about
Yeah.
the history of film, Australian film, I believe, which I'm looking forward to because he's a real, he's an encyclopedia.
He's a professor.
Good that he's a walking encyclopedia. It's good to hear he's coming back.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's amazing.
And I think that we've really, I believe that the industry has actually suffered for the loss of having David and Margaret on screen because,
Absolutely. They're
I mean,
just so knowledgeable,
well-
and they make film interesting.
well, they do, and they also brought attention to films that people otherwise wouldn't have seen. And when the news came along that David and Margaret were going to be leaving ABC, there was a lot of concern from me that a lot of the films that we show at Nova, the films that don't have $1 million or $5 million marketing campaign behind them, like the blockbusters that play at the
People don't know
multiplexes. Well, exactly. David and Margaret gave a great deal of awareness to these pictures, which I thought was really important.
Independent, underground filmmakers, things like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
But thankfully what we have seen is rather than people just sort of abandoning sort of more or less mainstream cinema, what we've now got is we've actually got people, I think, trusting what Nova brings to screen as being something special and worth seeing, and so people are still coming along. And like I say, with films like The Lobster, which is really out there,
check it out.
it's a big hit.
Be
People love it.
prepared. It's totally different. Hard to explain.
So they're in it.
Yeah. And so I think
Quite original.
thank you very much. And also films like we've had a lot of success with stuff like Bridge of Spies,
Thank
which
you.
is a real return to form for Spielberg, and Amy, another film that we played for like 20
Amy
months.
Tass.
Huge. No, not Amy. No, the film with about Amy Winehouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course.
I
Thank
really
you.
want to see that.
That's a great movie.
There's a lot of found footage in there.
Thank you.
A lot of new stuff. Her young singing Happy Birthday. And
Well, I'd love to think that movie will go all the way and wind up being something that
She was
gets
one of the
remembered in the
great
Oscars.
singers
She was. Well, it made me go across the road to Reading's. Thank you very much. To Reading's bookstore and buy the LP after watching
Such
the
a
film because it was
tragedy,
such a. such an incredible musician.
Well, there's some great films. It's really quite a season.
Yeah.
How do you pick some of these, Homer? Did you get in with Margaret?
We actually went to the media opening they were showing on the waterfront on November the 16th.
Great.
Yeah.
That was such an amazing thing.
Great to see that again. Yeah.
Well, it's there's 3 films that are part of the festival which will be premiering fully restored versions of the film, which haven't been seen on the screen, since the restoration, which has been undertaken by the studio, and that's On the Waterfront, Kubrick's Spartacus, which is something that has to be seen, and one of my all-time favourites, which is
amazing, and
Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset, yeah.
It inspired all the subsequent epic films, sandal and sword epics that came after.
But the thing about the Margaret Pomeranz Hollywood Retro Film Festival is, I think what it does give is an opportunity for people to see films
the way they were originally intended,
and films that they've heard about. And I think you sit down and you watch some of these movies, like Citizen Kane, for instance, is in the line, right?
Classic. Rosebud.
If you've never seen that film, if you sit down and you watch it, you almost feel like you've already seen it because it's been referenced so much in so many pop cultural things across the years, like Simpsons and other television programs, other films. You'll feel, there's practically, I reckon it'd be interesting, I reckon you could recut Citizen Kane using other people's shots from other films and TV shows and tell practically the same story using the shots that people have kind of homaged Citizen Kane. So it's a rare opportunity
it's one of the
to
most
actually...
influential films ever made.
Exactly.
And how old was Orson Welles? He was only like 25.
You don't say, because it'll all make us feel like that we've wasted our lives.
As good as that film is, incredible. Citizen Kane, one of the top films ever of all time. That lost the Academy Award to How Green Was My Valley, which you're also screening.
I know, well, we've got to give it an opportunity to get it. Maybe it's a good film. Maybe it's actually a better one. Who knows? You got to go to the festival and find out.
Are you a fan of On the Waterfront?
I wouldn't say that I'm a massive fan. I don't know. I have a bit of a funny... I'm not a massive fan of Marlon Brando. And that's not because I dislike him or anything like that.
What are you talking about?
Oh, maybe that's it. All these people doing impressions of him over the years.
No, but that's the way he talks. Like he's this
I know that. I know. Yeah.
Very handsome. Probably one of the best-looking guys in Hollywood history. And then he opens his mouth. He's like David Beckham.
Yeah,
he's got the most off-putting voice.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
But he was a great actor, and I loved him in Streetcar Named Desire. And even Apocalypse Now was something so menacing and so
great film.
Sinister. There was something so evil about his performance.
Why doesn't he grab you? Just generally?
I'm not sure.
It's a strange movie.
Yeah. Generally, Marlon.
I suppose we've all got, there's actors that we love and there's actors that we don't like, and we're always drawn to different people, and sometimes somebody comes along and does something that really blows you away, and you sort of shift your perception of them and think, I really like that person now, or I like that actor now, and I don't know, it's just, I've never really found myself drawn to his work, and maybe it's an issue whereby Brando is always Brando.
Yeah.
And it's hard to actually divorce the actor from the performance because there's so much of him that he brings to the role.
There's that, yeah.
Even in Superman, he did 2 days' work and was paid like $3-4
and got
million.
top billing. Top billing.
You know what I mean?
He opened that film for a little work.
Exactly.
But he did that a lot.
Apocalypse
Apocalypse Now is the same sort of thing. So I think, I'm just not a massive fan of his. But that said, he's certainly given a lot of great performances. Godfather, of course. The list goes on and on and on and on.
On the Waterfront. What do you think of On the Waterfront?
Look, I think it's something. Again, I think that it's a movie that a lot of people will know because they've kind of seen it referenced so much before.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender.
And they redid that line.
I could have been somebody instead of a bum.
Won a lot of Oscars. Even Maurice Saint.
Story of your
Raging
life.
Bull. They did it at the end of Raging Bull. De Niro staring at the mirror. He's all fat and...
Story of your life.
It's a lot like Brando.
Brando,
in his later years.
Story of your life, Fred.
Oh, story of my life, absolutely.
And I think, even Maurice Saint gives a David performance, a screen performance, incredible.
Woman.
I didn't realise she hadn't worked so much. She's only done like 20 performances in her entire life. And that's remarkable considering like how well known she is as an actor of...
She did a lot of TV movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Definitely one of the most beautiful actresses I've ever seen in my life.
I love her in North by Northwest.
Yeah,
incredible.
And also in Exodus with Paul Newman.
Oh, yeah.
Great film.
But she was quite young in Waterfront, though.
Yeah,
One of the early
absolutely.
ones.
And
She was a debutante.
won the Oscar. He won the Oscar, and Elia Kazan, of course. You know, incredible filmmaker.
A blacklisted director who went through the...
Well, no, he wasn't blacklisted. He actually was naming names.
Yes, and because of that, he lost a lot of friends. Apparently, like in 1999, he won an honorary Oscar for his career, and a lot of people didn't get up
I remember,
to applaud.
I remember watching that. And the interesting thing is, on the flip side of obviously Elia Kazan and the Blacklist, is you've got Spartacus in the lineup as well, which is fully restored.
Yeah.
And that, of course, was controversial
Dalton Trumbo?
Dalton Trumbo was a blacklisted screenwriter.
He wrote Exodus as well for the screen.
Yeah, of course he did. In fact, there's this great, very entertaining movie for people who love sort of stories about Hollywood called Trumbo, which is based on his story.
I saw that, all these amazing actors give them...
And it covers the sort of the making of Spartacus in that film as well.
Yeah.
It talks about there's an actor who I wasn't familiar with playing Kirk Douglas and sort of saying, okay, well, we're going to kind of cross the picket line here and we're going to give you the opportunity to write the screenplay, despite the fact that you were ultimately banned from writing screenplays for the screen. So yeah, I mean, there's
a fantastic documentary, and it was done in such an original style because it was told in segments by different actors. Even Brian Dennehy was in there.
You're kidding.
It was an assortment of some of my favourite actors, you know.
A lot of people weighed in.
Yeah.
What was that called again?
Trumbo.
Just Trumbo. I have to check that one out. Yeah.
So you know, there's something for everybody, I think, in the lineup, and I mean, the films that stand out for me, you know, it's one of my favourite films is Singing in the Rain. I mean, I love Singing in the Rain. I mean, you know, Donald O'Connor gives one of the greatest
anything with
sort
Gene
of
Kelly in it for me
dancing
is
performances.
Debbie Reynolds was 19 years old when she was in that.
Singing in the Rain.
She was just a kid.
It's so entertaining, and it's a movie. I remember
Go back to her parents.
full on. I remember sitting my friends down years ago and saying, we've got to watch this movie, you're going to love it. And they're like, oh, you know, it's a musical, it's from the 1950s, I don't want to watch this movie.
And as soon as it begins,
absolutely,
from start to
everybody
finish,
loves it.
Yeah.
It's a movie you cannot resist.
Can't help it.
that
get you in.
and An American in Paris.
Yeah.
Great movie. It's a shame they didn't include that.
Well, you know, the great thing is that there's all sorts of opportunities for great Hollywood films, or even films from, you know, the international sphere, you know, British films or French films, to be given an opportunity to return to the screen and give people a chance to see something that they've heard about but maybe never seen before. You know, through things like this or the David Stratton one or anything that we might do in the future. The opportunities with bringing old films back to the screen is really exciting.
You mentioned before, you know, it's a shame you can't see it again. It's true, man. I just noticed talking to Kristian before, this is simply season 1. That's probably going to lead into other scenes of this or other...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know, there's 52 weeks of the year. This is 2 weeks. We did, I think, the David Stratton one ran for 2 weeks, plus a couple of encores of the key films.
And you know what David Stratton is doing now? He's got a film cruise.
Oh, of course.
He's got a cruise that's sailing...
I think Margaret's going on one of the cruises with him.
Both
oh, really?
Yeah.
I would do anything to get on that cruise.
Well, you could pay to be there.
Because it's like Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
You know, they're going all the way to Europe.
You could get cast as the person that they murder.
Oh,
you could play the dead body for like 2 weeks, lie in the middle of the ballroom floor, you know.
Like Saw.
I don't get it. Why go on a cruise to watch movies? I mean...
No, I mean,
what else are you
they
going to do on the
don't watch
boat?
movies from day to night. They'll watch a few movies.
You've got to lie by the pool for an hour or two,
Yeah.
and then you go and...
That would be good, though.
Yeah, that would be amusing. I wonder how much FaceTime you get with David and Margaret on one of those cruises.
You have to book in early.
Absolutely,
I'd
yeah.
love to be on that cruise, seriously.
Put it on the list.
Oh, yeah. It'd be an expensive little holiday, but
yeah.
as long as you're sharing that experience with other film enthusiasts like you.
Well, that's true. I wonder how many people that would go on that would be there just to, you know, spend time with David and Margaret.
I think they would, for that kind of money, they would have to be.
Yeah.
So how do these films come together? Did you get together with Margaret? Did she just send them along?
Yeah,
or
did she come? Did she come to you guys?
No, she didn't come to us. We're in collaboration with an exhibitor in Sydney who runs a cinema called the Orpheum on the North Shore. Beautiful old Art Deco theatre, like really makes...
And do they show classic films?
They do. Well, Paul Drabe, who's the general manager of the Orpheum, is a good friend of mine. He's a real, you know, he loves this stuff, and he's got a very good relationship with David and Margaret because they've done a lot of co-hosting events run at the Orpheum, and they did, for instance, they brought out one of the stars of 2001, and he's come to the theatre, and they do a lot of things with Roger Moore when he tours, when he's written a new autobiography or something like that, and so they had a great relationship with David and Margaret already, and
So she's not actually officially affiliated with this.
No, absolutely she is. Absolutely. These are her films. David chose his films, and they're
they're not going to come to present the.
No, they're not going to come to the theatre. They'll be on a boat floating around the Mediterranean somewhere, I think, at the same time.
I believe, right?
Correct. Yeah, and obviously she's got her other commitments, and David is working on his new TV show. The thing is that these are the films that they have indeed sort of given the tick of approval to, so to speak, and films that they're truly passionate about, and and they've given obviously information which we've got on our website, etc., talking about why these films are so important, and that's what's really exciting, because I think that people still are looking for that guidance from David and Margaret about the films that are worth seeing, and there's over a century worth of cinema that's out there waiting to be discovered by a lot of people.
I noticed Searchers was there. Searchers, in my opinion,
unbelievable,
greatest Western ever made.
Absolutely. But again,
that opening
a lot of people wouldn't have seen it.
And the camera panning in, and you see that wide landscape opening up. Can you imagine seeing that for the first time in 1954, was it?
56.
56?
Yeah.
In 1956, seeing that colour just slowly fill the screen as the door gets bigger and bigger.
It gets you right in.
Oh man, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it ends the same way, but it pans back. Him kind of staring at the door and you see the silhouette.
John Ford at his best.
Absolutely.
But Kristian, there's all these wonderful films, top films. What's your favorite of these from the Margaret Retro Film Festival?
Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard.
Well, Sunset Boulevard is certainly up there, I've got to say, because I'm a real sucker for Hollywood stories.
Do you like film noir? Are you a fan of film noir?
I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan. I've seen plenty of film noir in my time, but it's not something that I necessarily, I can't sound that I'm an absolute advocate for it.
But Billy Wilder is one of the biggest and best directors of that era.
He's incredible. But one of the films that I'm really, really passionate about that's in the lineup is The Apartment. I think The Apartment, an incredible film.
Some Like It Hot is my favourite.
Shirley MacLaine and Some Like It Hot, absolutely, I mean, he's such a talented filmmaker, and
he can go from comedy to drama in a heartbeat.
But he wouldn't get
indemnity.
That it's just a movie. That's what he would say. It's people. Is this a comedy or is this a drama? We say, I think it's a movie. And he's somebody who didn't necessarily set out to make a comedy or a drama or a thriller or a film noir. He just made it the way that he wanted to make it, and that's what we get. We kind of get something that is his vision, truly his vision.
He made arguably the two greatest crime movies ever made. Double Indemnity and Witness for the Prosecution.
Well, I have not seen the latter, but I love Double Indemnity. I think it's an amazing film.
Fred McMurray.
Terrific. Yeah, so I think, for me, if I had to pick three films in this lineup that I would recommend to people, it would be Singing in the Rain. Even if you've seen it on video or on DVD, you've got to see it on the big screen because it's one of the most joyous experiences you'll ever have in the cinema. Sunset Boulevard, because I'm such a sucker for movies about Hollywood.
Well, what's the famous line?
In Sunset.
Yeah, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Yeah, ready for my close-up.
That's right.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. But those two, and then the other one would be Spartacus, because I mean, I think that again, that's a movie that people might have seen on the small screen, but it's a big screen experience, and this is the first time you'll get to see the fully restored version of the film, and it'll just look spectacular. I mean, it'll look like practically nothing you've ever seen before, and I think that's really, really exciting.
But so many of those films back then were a virtual extension of theater. They were virtually plays.
They were. A lot of them were shot in one set. Sets,
and it was so good for that. And there's a lot of dialogue and not Spartacus, of course, that's a bit more of an actioner, but one thing I'm really looking forward to, 12 Angry Men. It's stunning. Fonda, it's just...
In my opinion, it's the greatest film ever made.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, full on.
It's just the way that turned around. I have seen the play and I've done here in Melbourne, and also to see that really translate well to me on cinema.
Yeah.
And I mean,
well, it's such an interior
even in
film.
There.
Absolutely.
So many characters. Each one is so different. Everyone has their own personality.
Such a confined setting.
Such a confined setting. It's all in one room. You know? And such a deep and layered story.
It keeps you guessing too.
It keeps you guessing all the way to the end, and everyone has their own conflicts of interest. Everyone has their own reasons to want that boy to be taken away.
It's probably the reason why people actually look forward to jury duty a lot of the time. It's like, I'm going to be in there and I'm going to be making these decisions.
Have you guys ever...
typified
I've never got to jury duty. I've always miss out the last minute.
No.
Don't get chosen, you know.
I think a lot of it would be tedious and boring and procedural.
Oh, I'm sure, absolutely.
But to cut down like something like 12 Angry Men did to say...
Well, exactly. It's 100 minutes, you know. Or, it's a different experience to say 2 weeks.
The slow burn gets you in.
Yeah. Juror number 8, greatest hero in Hollywood history, I think. Just the way he stood up against everyone and slammed that knife on the table.
And
people are always sensitive about those things.
What about the big ones? So everyone, they want to see, Citizen Kane we talked about, and Gone with the Wind, the really big ones. I like that. I mean...
Well, obviously you got Casablanca. I mean, again, one of the greatest films of all time. Citizen Kane's in there, one of the greatest films of all time, if not the greatest.
I've seen all of these films probably 100 times.
Well, that's true. And Gone with the Wind, I mean, that was on TV the other day, but it seemed so small.
Yeah,
and it seemed almost lost. I mean, it was on TV for I think the problem is cinema forces you to put down the phone, to switch off from all the other distractions that are around you, and that's a very unique thing in this day and age. You don't do that at home. Absolutely, at home, particularly if it's 4 hours long on in the middle of the day. Playing with your phone, you're making a coffee, you're getting lunch, you're
distractions.
Absolutely, and I think that if you sort of sit there and you immerse yourself in these films, then it's transportative, and I think that's really important.
You shut up, you turn off the phone. But Gone with the Wind, I mean, Scarlett, face it, she was such a ditz.
Oh, Vivien Leigh is one of the most beautiful women.
But her character, Scarlett, was such a ditz.
Yeah.
She knocked back Superman. She had a chance to go out with Superman, and she chose Rhett Butler. No, that's Superman. George Reeves, who played
George
Superman.
Reeves, oh goodness.
And the TV. I grew up with the TV series. He was one of her early beaux in the early dance.
I didn't realize that was him. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Leslie Howard.
Leslie's like.
Not Trevor.
What a ditz,
George
but
Reeves,
that was her character.
Yeah. The Margot Pomeranz Hollywood Retro Film Festival, we're going to be screening it from the 26th of November, and we've set up a 2-week period of sessions. Yeah. But we'll probably play the real highlights of the festival beyond the end of the festival, just because I think people won't get an opportunity to catch them all.
Screening was so much fun. We were sitting there with all of these people who enjoy the film. We've probably seen it hundreds of times.
But up on the screen,
that makes a difference.
Digitally.
Yeah. Also, you screened All About Eve as a media preview.
Oh, that's right.
That was very good too.
That's a classic. I mean, that's a movie that I'd love to revisit. I haven't seen it in so long, but again, it's such a lot of fun.
For 12 Academy Awards. And it won 8 or something.
I might actually get one of my team to go through the program and count how many awards it actually, all these songs have actually won, because that'd be fascinating. God, It'd have to be a huge tally.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Well, Sunset Boulevard, I think, was nominated for 11 and won
14. All About Eve.
Wow.
14. Yeah. That's incredible.
There's no shortage. So I think, if you're looking for an education in cinema, this is the place to go.
I look forward to. I mean, I've seen all these films many, many times, but you have to revisit them in the way that they were intended to be seen.
Yep.
On a big screen
disagree. And clean and pristine.
Yeah. Absolutely, big difference. Big difference.
Wow.
Up there on a big screen with no one talking and no damn phones.
Sig, you and I are going to spend the next couple of weeks watching these movies.